players were back on board with the circuit here at Pyra. Hence the race leaders. Oh, there are all sorts of problems.
Oh, big carnage. Oh, straight to the barriers. And through the smoke we come. What a crash!
Welcome to Retro Motorsport. As promised, first up, it's 2010 and part 2 of the Mclaren Festival. This time from Pukekohe.
Pukekohe Park Raceway is an important part of New Zealand motor racing history. Still in action today, Pukekohe in the 60s especially provided spectacles that will forever remain in everyone's memory. Take the 1963 New Zealand Grand Prix, where New Zealand stars like Bruce McLaren took on the world's best as part of the popular Tasman Series. Crowds flocked to the venue south of Auckland, and they're back here this weekend to honour the memory of McLaren. The success the previous weekend at the new facility at Hampton Downs, it was appropriate to return to Pukekohe for part 2 of the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing presented by CRC. One of the many famous New Zealand racing drivers in attendance over another busy weekend was Alan Wolfe.
A few cars here that you've driven as well. There's an Escort out there which you used to drive. It must be good for you to see these cars.
Yes, these types of meetings are rather amazing for the people that come up and speak to you, and they remember things that, you've long forgotten about. Yeah. When I was 60, I bought a Brabham BT9, and when I was 75, I bought a Volpini, and that's as far as I'm going.
So watch out for Alan Wolfe in the 1958 Volpini Formula Junior. This is the Formula Junior and Formula 3 class cars. Some wonderful examples of these smaller cars than the F2s and F1 cars that dominated the Tasman Series back in the 50s and 60s, especially here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. So an absolutely massive lineup of race cars in this class. The second consecutive weekend for the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing. So out into the early front running, it's car number 174. This is Hans-Jørgen Krag from Denmark in a Lola Mark III. 85 in there as well, making the pass for the lead out of the hairpin. That's Sir John Chisholm from UK in the Gemini Mark III, dating back to 1961. 59 going through there. It's Robin Longdon, also from the UK, in a Lola Mark V, 1963 vintage. Wonderful sounding cars. Then you go back through the field to some of the Formula Juniors. There's wonderful Volpinis, Stanguilinis. Car number 21 going through there, Rob Williams in the 1959 Alva 100. Car 92. That's Don Talon from Australia in the MRC 22, another 1963 manufactured vehicle. And there's some problems there. One of the drivers up track has shed a rear wheel. Just pulling gears, the first part, and in flames. Car 76. Well, disaster there. That's Wayne Carter from Patamahoe in the 1965 Cooper. So a scary moment there, and the officials are right there with him to put out the flames. So the safety car has been dispatched. Thankfully, the safety crew right there with the extinguisher to save any major damage from that beautiful little race car. Back to the restart, 85, leading them away, Sir John Chisholm. Working their way down through the S's. Tricky part of the racetrack, and the all-important run here into Castrol onto the back straight. Sir John Chisholm, the 1961 Gemini Mark III, just under 1100cc. He's running in the class rear engine drum brakes. The Formula Juniors and F3 separated into 4 classes. As Sir John Chisholm runs a little bit wide at the hairpin, allowing the 59 of Robin Longdon to get through into the lead. So we have front engine, which is the majority of the Formula Junior cars, the rear engine drum brakes, the likes of the Formula 3's rear engine disc brakes, some of the later model cars, and some of the invited cars, which are also part of this makeup as Sir John Chisholm goes back down the inside through to turn number 1. And that's a nice pass off the front straight. Here in New Zealand, we are spoiled for choice by being able to see so many of these little race cars at the historic meetings around the country. As the car sits off to the left of the track that shed the wheels, so the incident that claimed the other car that needed the fire extinguished was totally separate. It's Longdon, late on the brakes, goes back into the lead, so this lead is seesawing. John Chisholm gets a great run off the hairpin and back into the lead. So the lead's changed probably the better part of 6 times already. Formula Junior, Invited and Formula 3s here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. As they come down to the checkered flag, it's going to be, I think, Longdon just on the inside, and there wasn't a lot in it. Fantastic racing from the Formula Juniors and F3s, with Robin Longdon taking out the victory from Sir John Chisholm, followed by Peter Strauss, Don Talon, Kevin Taylor, Bill Hemming, Kim Sheen and Rob Douglas. In the 1960s, New Zealand had 3 drivers in Europe, and here in New Zealand, they were known as the trio at the top. Joining McLaren and Holm was another young Kiwi set to star, Chris Amon. A highlight for Bruce and Chris was a Le Mans 24-hour win in 1966 for Ford.
It's been great to have these 2 events to remember Bruce, and obviously there's an awful lot of memories there.
A lot of cars that he drove, and of course that you're involved in as well.
Yes, it's not just the cars but the people too. It's wandering around the paddock, there's people that were there when I started at McLaren in late 1964, and guys that were original members of the McLaren team, so there's been a bit of reminiscing going on.
And this car here has brought back some memories as well.
Well, it's a red one, yes. I was involved with the red ones for a few years, 3 years at Ferrari, and to actually sit in one, drive one again, it's once again a lot of memories there.
Welcome back to Pukekohe Park Raceway and the continuation of the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing, celebrating the life of Bruce McLaren. 1960 saloons and GTs. We saw some sensational racing from these wonderful vehicles at Hampton Downs the previous weekend, and again a diverse lineup. Car 89 going through there, that's John Ewer and the big Jag Mark 7 from Helensville. So we've got Minis, Mustangs, Escorts, Vivas, you name them, they're out there. On board with Bernie Hines, 1966 Broadspeed Mini replica. Very, very quick little race car, and out in front it's a Mustang versus the Javelin, harking back to the Trans Am battles in the 60s in the US at the height of the muscle car phase. So that'll be Dale Mathers, and the AMX Javelin is Craig Stacey from Auckland. A beautiful example, not too many of these cars racing around the world. 06, there's Daryl Narain. 65 Mustang Shelby GT350R as we go back on board with Bernie Hines. Jim Richards is building up an AMX Javelin in Australia for the muscle car series over there, I understand. Looking forward to seeing that car. Here's our American visitor, car 22. It's actually running as car number 122 this weekend because of a number clash with Neil Tollich's 1965 Fleetwood Mustang Coupe. This is John Watkins. For the Holden fans, 327. It's Max Story from Uruguay in the 68 Holden Monaro HK GTS. So Bernie Hines chasing down one of the Vivas. That'll be car 100, Mike John, the Vauxhall Viva GT. Mike better known for previously having run the Dunlop Targa New Zealand event. Car number 102, the ex-Jim Richards Escort Twin Cam, driven by Raiden Smith from Putaruru. Very famous New Zealand motor racing vehicle, and there are so many of them out there running in the 1960s and 1970s saloons, which are coming up a little bit later on in the coverage. Bernie Hines, lots of aggression up the hill, and here's this fabulous Ferrari Chris Amon was talking about. He has driven this car, 1965 Ferrari 275 GTB/C. Absolutely priceless, and just a sensational looking motor vehicle. Driven by its owner this weekend, Dave Fitzsimmons. Neil Tolich was lucky enough to drive the car at Hampton Downs. As Mathers and Stacey go through, Peter Stevenson going through to third in the Ford Falcon. And it's Watkins and Narain. Raiden Smith and the ex-Jimmy Richards Escort, and he's battling here with Fitzsimmons. Stunning Ferrari 275. Personally, I'm a fan of the front-engine Ferraris. There's just something about the looks of these cars. I'm also a big fan of Ford Mustangs, and there's two beautiful examples just up track ahead of this battle for 6th and 7th for the invited 1960s saloons and GTs at Pukekohe Park Raceway. Car number 91. It's Peter Bennett from Rotorua in the 1968 40 Farina Lotus. Different front end configuration that was so familiar with New Zealand motor racing back in the 60s with those little cars. 22. This is Neil Tolich in his 1965 Fleetwood Mustang Coupe. It's done a lot of racing around the world in the last 12 months. As Mathers now starts to get through into the back markers. To the hairpin for the final time. Last lap run for the Coastline Automotive. 1969 Mustang Boss 302 Fastback. Get a chance to have a look at this car. It is absolutely immaculate. One of the most amazing examples of the breed you will ever see, and he's going to take out the victory for the invited 1960s saloons and GTs here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. So lots of diversity in the top six. Dale Mathers taking out the victory in the Mustang ahead of the AMX Javelin of Craig Stacey. Peter Stevenson third in the Falcon ahead of John Watkins, Darryl Narain and Dave Fitzsimmons. The New Zealand Grand Prix had moved from the wide expanses of Ardmore to Pukekohe Park Raceway for 1963 and featured Bruce McLaren in his number 47 Cooper up against established Formula One stars like Graham Hill and eventual race winner John Surtees. In 1964, Bruce returned from Europe, teamed with Timmy Mayer and a pair of Cooper Climaxes, entered under Bruce McLaren Racing. Kiwis dominated the race after the retirement of Aussie pole sitter Jack Brabham, with Bruce heading home future teammate Denny Holm for a sensational Kiwi 1-2. It was McLaren's first and only New Zealand Grand Prix victory, but it signalled the start of the McLaren racing dynasty. So from the heyday of the New Zealand Grand Prix and the Tasman Series, there are some cars here this weekend that were competing in those types of races back in the 60s. This is car number 65, Henry Eustaban from Western Australia in the Elton Holden AR2. Car number 6, Rod Jolly from the UK in the rear engine Cooper T45. F2, car number 101, James McDonald, another Australian, the 1966 Beefer F2. Over the 2 weekends, we've seen examples from McLaren. This is car number 132, Brian Grant from Auckland in the 1967 Big Chev. Car 40, Peter Boll from Australia, Queenslander, driving a 1966 Lotus 41 Mark IV, just under 1600cc. Car 12 is Roden Wooten, a familiar driver in the 1966 Brabham BT18. Certainly been one of the front runners in this type of motor racing at the historics around New Zealand. And as Grant Clearwater chases him in another Brabham BT16, we go from 2010 back to 1964 and the heyday of motor racing in New Zealand.
Yourself, you're still involved in motor racing at the moment?
Oh, only very much on the outskirts of it, but still enjoy it. Love to see these older cars because obviously a lot of them are from my sort of era. But I also follow the modern Formula One. It's a very different scene to my day, but still enjoyable.
Chris also has a lot to do with the Toyota Racing Series and the young drivers contesting that championship. We're all after the Chris Amon Trophy as the overall winner of the championship as we go to the 1970s sports cars and GTs. Now in wet, miserable conditions at Pukekohe. We're on board with car number 123. That's Greg Wood in the 1973 Alfa Romeo GTV. He was battling there with Steve Brown, that brand new number 18 Zack Speed Escort replica. So difficult conditions. We know how difficult Pukekohe can be in the wet. We go back to even the 80s where we've had rain showers where half the track is wet, half the track is dry. I don't think we've got that situation here. Certainly one of the more famous situations at Pukekohe over the years. There's Mike Sexton in the screaming Mark I Escort, a beautifully presented little race car, prepared by Bruce Mannon, who's just up the track ahead of Sexton at the moment for the 1970s cars. There's Mannon going through shots, Sexton, Mike Dalmont, reputedly the world's fastest BMW 2002 Turbo, certainly in this spec. Just in behind them, and John Honore in the Ferrari 308 back on board with Greg Wood. And that onboard coverage isn't going to last very long because Wood's peeling off into pit lane in the number 123 Alpha. So lots of rain, treacherous conditions. There's Mike Dalmont. Something over 500 horsepower. Would not be the easiest to drive in these conditions. Grant Hanna just in behind them. In the Triumph TR8, car number 51, the 1977 Triumph TR8. John Honore. Very familiar car around New Zealand motor racing circuits for the last 10 or 15 years. Car number 83, the 78 Ferrari 308 GTB. As Mannon goes through in his Mark II, Sexton in the Mark I, Mike Dalmont in the BMW 2002 Turbo. He and Mannon are both front runners in the Arrow Wheels Sports and GT class this season in support of the BMW Racing Series and some of the other historic racing around the North Island. There's John Honore. As I said, that very familiar 308 Ferrari GTB. Very cool sounding race car. Grant Hanna in an equally fantastic sounding race car, 4.4 litre Rover-based power plant in the Triumph TR8. Just tiptoeing up over the top of Ford Mountain. Mel Clark's just in behind him. That bright orange P6 Rover carried one of our onboard at Hampton Downs and provided a lot of action. These are probably more conditions suited to Big Mel. Like Mark Parsons, with this car, it's got a little bit of a rallying background, and this car does like to get sideways. Just in behind him is the 1970 Ford Capri RS 2600 of John Sampson. Then we go back to Russell McCallum from Auckland in the 73 Datsun 1600 P510 Triple S. 91 is Anthony Rosser. 74 Porsche 911. And again, like all of these cars, just tiptoeing through the S's. lots of standing water on the racetrack with a big downpour. In fact, here on Saturday afternoon at Pukekohe, it was such a huge downpour as McCallum goes by Mel Clark for position. It actually washed away part of the Armco down through the S's that meant a delayed start to the racing here on Sunday for the second weekend of the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing presented by CRC. So changeable conditions, as we've seen for so many years here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. As Bruce Mannon continues to lead here in the 1970s sports car and GT class. 1975 Mark II Escort 2.3 litre Cosworth. Here's the 58 of Colin Meadows. 1976 Holden Tirana A9X. 5 litre Holden underneath the hood of that beautiful race car. Your higher RPM of the Cosworth. Under brakes into the hairpin, through the gears for Bruce Mannon. And the track now starting to dry. Dry line appearing as they work their way up the top of Ford Mountain. It is the Ford Escort of Bruce Mannon. Sideways, oversteer, he's putting on a show down to the checkered flag. Bruce Mannon flies to victory in the 1970s sports cars and GTs. So it's Mannon from Michael Sexton, Mike Delmont in the BMW 2002 Turbo, from John Honore in the Ferrari, Grant Hanna in the Triumph, John Sampson in the RS 2600 Capri. Another one of the many classes here over the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing is the Super Historics. And here's some of the fantastic cars that are assembled here at Pukekohe Park this weekend.
Well, the car was the first Chevron B42 built. It was built late 77. It was raced by Riccardo Petresi at Donington in the first meeting that he drove it in. Then had a BMW 2-litre engine. It ran as a Formula 2. It was then converted to Formula Atlantic and ran at Macau, and he won the 77 Macau Grand Prix in it.
So the Chevron, a familiar brand in New Zealand in the 70s. Moving on to the 1980s, where Formula Pacific was king in New Zealand. This is the 1989 Swift DB4, owned by Kenny Smith, driven this weekend by Andrew Higgins.
Dean Hall drove it originally. He was an American guy that bought it out, brand new, and he won the Grand Prix here in '89. And then Craig Bird bought the car. He drove it 2 years and then won the Grand Prix again in '91. And then the next time I raced here was driven by Jos Verstappen, who went on to Formula 1. So it's got quite a bit of history, and since Jos drove it, it basically sat in a garage for 15 years. So Ken and I rebuilt it over the last year or so, and it's here.
Hailing from Australia, the Alphen factory produced many motor racing vehicles across a variety of different classes. This is Mark Goldsmith's Alphen 622.
It's a 1974 Alphen 622. It was an adaptation of a very successful Alphen 600. This chassis was a little deeper, where you tend to sit in it and sit on it. And it was used for both Formula Ford, Formula 2 and Formula 3, whether it's either designated 622 or 623. Pukekohe, I mean, you've got to love it. It's like an old girlfriend. It's not too good up close, but it'll do. It's a lovely track. It's got a great amount of character, but it does get a little bit wet when it rains.
The 70s and 80s, the heyday of Formula Pacific racing in New Zealand, the likes of KK Rosberg, Teo Fabi, Roberto Moreno, and then through into the 80s with the likes of Craig Baird, Paul Radisich and Kenny Smith dominated the ranks in the fabulous Formula Pacifics, and there's a fair few of these out there running in the super historic class this weekend. Car 31, that's Grant Martin from Auckland in the 1990 Swift DB4. In the mid to late 80s, it was the Rolts, Reynards and Swifts that dominated Formula Pacific. Over in America, they were known as Formula Atlantic. It's one of the earlier class cars they're running with the 31. That's car 16, Steve Ward from Auckland in the 1968 Lola SL142. Slightly earlier car than the later modern Swifts and Reynards out there. Car 69, Harry Hickling, another Australian 72 Chevron B20. Some very cool race cars out there. Keep an eye out for Andrew Higgins in the number 289 Swift DB4, owned by Kenny Smith. You can actually remember watching KK Rosberg in the 1970s running in the Formula Pacifics for the New Zealand Grand Prix here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. It's car number 40, Vince Holland from Australia in the 82 Rolt RT4. So David Oxton, David McMillan featured in this type of car in their furious battles for Formula Pacific supremacy back in the early 80s. And this is a fabulous example. The very popular Rolt RT4. Running in the colours of Goodyear this weekend here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. That'll be Andrew Higgins just in behind him. Andrew with a big background in Formula Ford racing. Has a lot to do with Kenny Smith and looking after his collection of race cars. There he is there and shot behind the number 40 RT4. So it's still 31 Grant Martin with the race lead here in the Super Historics. Car number 5, Jeff Harriman back there. This is a Formula Holden spec Rolt RT20 dating back to 1986. And the likes of Greg Murphy, Scott Dixon, Simon Wills running in the Formula Holdens when they were the class of choice here in New Zealand motor racing. And there are a few of these examples still reigning around on the racetracks here in New Zealand in this type of class. Battling there with the 5 is the 32 of Sean Whelan, another Australian, this time from South Australia, in a later model Rolt RT4 dating to 1987. Steve Ward goes through in the 68 Lola SL142. 5.3 litre Ford V8 in the back of that car. Another one of the many Swifts out there. That'll be car 11, Lyle Zoss. Another beautifully presented example. Car number 1, Peter Whelan. 1977 Chevron B42 that we heard about just before the break. Just behind Whelan is the 34 of Tony Simmons. Another Chevron B34. So the run to the finish for Grant Martin for the Super Historics. Certainly instilling some memories back from the mid to late 80s in Formula Pacific. Martin will take the victory from Andrew Higgins. Steve Ward third in the big V8 Lola, followed by Harry Hickling, Vince Holland and Jeff Harriman. From the 1960s, open wheelers on both sides of the Tasman progressed onto the thundering Formula 5000s. Names like David Oxton, Kenny Smith and Graham Lawrence were at the forefront of these wonderful cars, which Lawrence still reminisces about even today.
It's neat to see that, that enthusiasm is still there from a lot of the people that race even before, or in the time when I was still a kid in shorts and that, but it's nice to see that enthusiasm still exists and to see that they're still around, because there's so many here that would like to be here that we don't see today and are not here.
So from the legendary Graham Lawrence, certainly the highlight of the New Zealand Festival of Motor Racing over 2 weekends at Hampton Downs and here at Pukekohe Park Raceway as we're on board with Sefton Gibbs, the thundering Formula 5000s. They get the start down to turn number 1, Kenny Smith. Looks like he's got jumped by Steve Ross, who's leading the MSC Tasman Revival Series. Kenny Smith having some early season dramas. Back on board with Sefton Gibb, the 1974 Lola T332. Will take a ride down the back straight. Off the kink, hard under brakes, down into the hip, and Kenny Smith with the big lunge down the inside. He scored the clean sweep of 4 victories at Hampton Downs the previous weekend, and he's looking to do the same here again at Pukekohe Park Raceway to get his championship defence back on track. After some mechanical issues at the first couple of rounds, Roger Williams won the Lady Wigram Trophy in the number 63. 74 Lola T332, there he is there, running in the Interscope colours, familiar colours from the 1970s in Formula 5000. Sefton Gibb just up ahead of him in the 88. He had some mechanical dramas at Hampton Downs. goes down the inside of Gibb for position. Another wonderful lineup this weekend at Pukekohe Park Raceway with numbers approaching 30. There were some casualties from Hampton Downs, more mechanical rather than anything else. These early to mid-70s Formula 5000s are still very, very fragile. 30 is Ian Clements running in the Viceroy colours. One of the long-time campaigners in the MSC Tasman Revival Series. The big crowd will just be enjoying the sound and thunder of these 5-litre stock block small block V8s. So for this final race, the feature race for the MSC Tasman Revival Series from Pukekohe Park Raceway, the drivers are racing for the Bruce McLaren Trophy. And I know it's a trophy that is high on Kenny Smith's win list. It's one he wants to pick up. Roger Williams screams through. Black example of the Lolas. There's number 3, David Abbott. David has an awful lot to do with the MSC Tasman Revival Series, provides the second Lola for Kenny Smith to run. 2 very famous race cars. Kenny's was the ex-Ted Paulette machine, and Abbott's a former Alan Hamilton machine out of Australia. Lola T430s. Sefton Gibb having a strong run here. Kenny Smith continues to lead. Roger Williams, Steve Ross battling for the 2nd and 3rd positions. Just looking at the lap times, Kenny's 56.1 on lap 2. As the track has dried out from earlier on in the afternoon, we saw with the 1970s saloons. Heavy rain putting a lot of moisture on the racetrack, and there may be just a glimpse of a little bit more rain here on the surface as we go to car number 44. Aaron Lewis from Australia in the 1972 Matic A50 Repco. As the leaders working through lap traffic, that'll be Judith Lyons. Car number 74. 1974 Gurney Eagle FA74. That is a very, very cool race car. So we've got Lolas, McRae's, McLarens, Chevrons, Alphins, Beggs, you name them, they're out there. Roger Williams battles here with Steve Ross for the 2nd position. Williams through to 2nd, chasing down Kenny Smith. The feature race for the Formula 5000s from Pukekohe Park Raceway, and it's for the Bruce McLaren Trophy. As Greg Thornton goes through from the UK in the 71 Surtees TS11, and we're going to take a ride, a lap of Pukekohe on a very rare little race car. There's not too many of these Surtees Formula 5000s left around the world, but this is a very good example. Hairpin through to the run up to Ford Mountain. This daunting right-hander up the hill at Pukekohe Park Raceway. Makes the run down underneath the GT Radials Bridge to complete a lap of Pukekohe Park Raceway in a thundering Formula 5000. So Greg's lapping at about the 58-second range. And the race leaders in the 56s. This is 188. This is the 2nd of the Surtees cars, and he's got some issues out there. That is Mike Watley from the UK in the 71 Surtees TS8. So that's brought out the safety car. Back to the restart. Kenny Smith, Roger Williams, Steve Ross. Continuation of the MSC Tasman Revival Series from Pukekohe Park Raceways. We're on board now with Sefton Gibb. And it is raining and raining hard. We've seen changeable conditions as Clements goes past. Sefton Gibb 4th position. So Kenny Smith now tiptoeing. It is definitely raining and these cars are on slick tyres. So tricky conditions for these 500 plus horsepower stock block V8s. Back on board with Gibb. He's just lost the 5th position to Ian Clements in the number 30 Lola T332, and loses a further position as Kenny Smith runs down towards the hairpin. It looks to be a little bit drier down here. We talked earlier on about raining at half of Pukekohe and leaving the other half dry, and we might even have that situation here right now. It's pretty much dry until you get up over the top of Ford Mountain, up onto the front straight of Pukekohe Park Raceway. Back on board with Gibb. Definitely a lot wetter off the end of the front straight than it is down at the hairpin. Steve Ross goes through in the number 5 McRae GM1. One of many McRae GM1s that are back out here racing in the Formula 5000s. Chris Iden, another example, driving for Stuart Lush. He's had some mechanical dramas over the weekend as Sefton Gibbs now got the 11. Bill Hemming just up ahead. It's the 1977 Alphin MR8. He will be a lapped car, so this is not 4th position, as the 8 of Kerry Anderson goes around in the 69 Lola T140, running in Class A for the older Formula 5000 cars, and there's another one going around there as well. That's car 10, Bruce Leeson, out of California in the US in the 69 McLaren M10B. He manages to continue on, so no safety car. So Hemming goes through, 44. Aaron Lewis, the Matiche 50. Brett Willis just in behind them in the number 16 Lola T330. So that's the battle for 7th and 8th with Willis and Lewis. Just ahead of them is Sefton Gibb. So dry down at the hairpin, wet down here through turns 1 and the S's. On the run up into Castrol as Williams applies the pressure to Kenny Smith. Battle for the lead. 68 years young Kenny Smith, chased by Roger Williams. Two wonderful examples of the Formula 5000s. Lola T430 for Kenny Smith, T332 for Roger Williams. You can see the vortices running up off the tips of the rear wing. So lots of moisture in the air. Never seen that before with a Formula 5000 car. You're used to seeing it in the likes of Formula 1 and maybe sprint car racing with the big wings. Very cool sight with the little vortice trails off the wingtips. It's Kenny Smith. Continues to lead Roger Williams, back on board with Greg Thornton in the number 34 Surtees. And he's running just outside the top 10 at the moment. Frank Lyons just up ahead of him. And Aaron Burson. So lots going on here at Pukekohe as he laps the number 11 of Hemming as well. So that'll be Frank Lyons immediately ahead of Thornton. As the last lap board comes out of Pukekohe, Williams pulls to the outside down into turn number 1. Kenny Smith looking for the clean sweep for the weekend with 4 victories. But Roger Williams is applying the pressure and there's lots of lap traffic ahead up for the leaders. As the leaders thunder down the back straight, Thornton working his way out of the hairpin. He's battling with Frank Lyons, who makes the pass now in the number 64 Viceroy Lola. Kenny Smith holding on to the lead. Back of the car moving around under brakes. Williams trying to cross over, but Smith's got good exit speed out of the hairpin. Kenny Smith looking for 4 out of 4 in the Bruce McLaren Trophy. There's the checkered flag. Kenny Smith will hold on to it. He got away from Roger Williams in the last sequence of corners. Kenny Smith with the victory. Roger Williams second, followed by MSC Tasman, Revival Series leader Steve Ross, David Abbott, Ian Clements and Sefton Gibb.
Kenny, well done. Total clean sweep, and the Bruce McLaren Trophy's yours.
Yeah, no, that's what makes it so good, is to win that Bruce McLaren Trophy. I mean, I went to school with Bruce and I raced his first Austin Ulster that he had. I owned that, and that sort of got me going in motorsport, and it's so fitting to get that over the moon. It means as much as any Grand Prix or anything.
Kenny's an awesomely good driver, and his car was performing very well today, so it was always going to be difficult to pass him, but you know, I wanted to make sure he was honest, and one little slip and we would have had him. So
it actually rained at the beginning of the straight, so we were tippy-toeing around the bottom corner heading onto the back straight, and it was dead dry at the other end. It was a very strange race at the end.
So it's 68 years young with numerous New Zealand Grand Prix and Lady Wigram trophies. This one ranks right up there for Ken Smith and his team. The festival celebrated the life and achievements of Bruce McLaren, whose name remains still at the forefront of Formula One today.
I'm always pleased anything that brings Bruce's name to the fore, because I think there's a couple of generations of New Zealanders now that don't really appreciate when they see the McLaren name winning a Formula One race. They don't really understand the connections back to the days of Bruce McLaren, and of course that link is very strong.
Of New Zealand's North Island was the venue for round number 5 of World Series jet sprinting Super Bowl. World Series is 6 rounds in 2 countries, America and New Zealand, and features competitors from both countries plus Australia. With 2 rounds left in the series, the American father-son combination of Mark and Burt Roberts lead the points from Jeremy O'Driscoll and Peter Coe.
Coming in to this part of the series, you were very close to Mark. He got a 4th. That's quite a points gap he's got on you now.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's you know, that was only 4th round out of the 6, and there's still another couple of rounds to go. Let's see how today pans out, and you know, we've got a nice package here with our boat. Normally you know, it's very efficient on the faster tracks. Certainly today's track is fast, and we're hoping we'll come through with a good result at the end of the day. And let's see how Mark shapes up. I mean, he's got to keep racing right to the bitter end, and we'll see how the results shape up then.
Horsepower would be the Achilles heel for the Roberts team. Their self-designed and self-built boats certainly handled, but would that be enough?
Coming 4th in round 1, it was fast, it was hard, and it was very close for the last 4 boats in that round.
Points are what you're here for, though, isn't it? And you got points.
Yeah, points. We come with focus. We want to try to maintain the top 6 through all 3 races, so when we go home, we're able to still be in the top of it.
Mark's 19-year-old son, Britt, was on fire in round number 1. His second place vaulted him right back into the points race.
It is a points game, and top 4's all you need, isn't it?
That's exactly what I'm going for. You know, if I stay in the top 4, even if I go on the 8, you know, just keep it consistent as I can. Just try to get the points that I can and drive the boat and manage it the way the boat needs to go.
The Aqua Track at Gisborne was designed by super boat driver Peter Bryant and is one of the few tracks where these boats can use all of their 1,000 plus horsepower. The channels are wide and the corners flowing with deep water clear out to the edges. In early practice, everybody was talking about the zigzag to the middle of the course.
Where's the money corner? I think the money corner is through the S through the corner, through the centre, coming this way and going that way. Plus we've got a nasty one right at the bottom end of the straight where you curl back on yourself. If you go nice and wide on it, I think you're going to make a better corner out of it. A lot of them are going tight on it, you're getting a few bounces down the back straight, so that's going to cost them 2 or 3 seconds. So that corner and the centre, I think, where you do the zigzag through both ways.
The track's reasonably wide open and relatively easy, when I say that. So everybody's going pretty quick straight out of the block, so I don't think the times are going to come down drastically, but it's going to be one of those tracks, hard to make time up, easy to probably lose it.
The Horsepower Racing Superboat is definitely all on this year, and Kevin Brick's supercharged Stinger has more than most.
This amount of horsepower you've got, it is an advantage on this racetrack with those straights?
Oh, I think it is. I mean, yesterday, I mean, we were going pretty easy really in our times up with the other guys, and you've only got to watch them. They're going pretty bloody hard, you know. So.
Horsepower means speed in jet sprinting, but it can also mean trouble, as Kevin Burke found out in qualifying.
Silly question, what happened?
Probably just overcooking it a wee bit on the again. Went at that first corner just a little bit quick, clouded the inside of the bank and just spun out and reversed into the tyres. So day's all over for us.
At round 1, Leon Schmale struggled with the big block Stinger.
Once again, round 1, not too good for you.
No, I had a bit of a mess up there. We had a good time on the board, but didn't quite pull it off at the end of the day. So when that's racing, you get your good days and your bad days. But we made a few major changes during the week, and they're for the better, I feel, anyway.
The sweeping corners of Gisborne would suit the boat a lot better. Then again, maybe not.
Leon, what happened?
Same story, man. I mean, I try that little bit too hard, and with that thing, the line is so fine. There's, I don't know. At the moment, mate, I'm lost for words. I had an awesome split, which in this case accounts for nothing, unfortunately. But that's racing, mate. We'll do the best we can at the next meet. That's all we can hope for.
Round 1 winner and reigning World Series Superboat champion Peter Bryant was the man to beat in the morning's qualifying.
Some of those corners, it's a fine line between getting them right and not quite right, and it's hundredths of a second here and there. So I mean, it's anyone's game yet, and we just keep working at it, try and get that flow right into those turns.
After a 2-year break from the sport, Rodney Polio was back, and man, oh man, was he ever.
Rodney, those times, they're coming down. Pretty tough out there by the look of it.
Yeah, it's pretty tight at the top, isn't it? There's not a lot of room to move.
Have you got more left?
We've got a little bit. I think everybody's probably at the probably 8 or 9 out of 10 at the moment.
There's 3 of you that are looking like you're going to be able to do it. Have you got more?
There's always a little bit more there. Just takes a little bit more discipline. We've been looking through the information, the data that we're getting off the Motec electronic dash, and that's hugely beneficial at this end of the day.
Somebody out of the top 3 was Mark Roberts. The morning pace just too.
They say it's a horsepower course. You haven't got any.
Yeah, that's true. We're under horsepowered by a couple of hundred here, and it shows. We're a couple of seconds off the fastest time so far.
Is there anything you can do to fix that besides driving?
We've made some changes. We've lightened up the boat. We've taken and changed the jet unit. It's probably as fast as we can make it, so we're going to have to try to drive it for what it is right now.
And after 4 qualifying rounds, it was Peter Bryant on top of the table with a 50-25. Rodney Polio and Pukekohe were also in the 50-second zone, but the Roberts team were in trouble, over 3 seconds behind. What do you say we get underway with the action? Green flag comes down, and Rick Smith from Taupo, New Zealand is off and running with the New Zealand Hydrolink. You will see an Australian Hydrolink coming up a little bit later on with Leon Schmale. This is a gentleman that, like nobody else can say, he has attended every World Series jet sprinting meet since the inception about 4 years ago. Hasn't had the success he would like to have, but he is a major supporter. So for Red Smith, first out onto the Aqua track here in Gisborne. This is a full-on Superboat track. Take a look at the split sign for Red Smith, 29.99.
He'll be happy with that, Jack, because Red Smith, he's done very, very well today. There's a lot of big names out of the competition, never got past the elimination 16, but Red Smith going for the best finish in a couple of seasons in the race tempo. Brings it round the big left hand. This is the big sweeper that's going to bring him in for home. Runs and guns the 440 Rodic, and the clock says 54.42.
Those times are coming down. You're not getting there.
Yeah, the driving I feel has been good. You know, I'm comfortable with myself, but there's only so far I can push my machinery to what these guys have got. This is a very horsepower-oriented track, as we've noted out before, and yeah, it's tough. I think I can shave another 3 or 4 tenths and get into a 51, but that's going to be really, really driving it.
Interesting to see what's going to happen with the 1-2 punch of the father-son running the same boat. This is son Bert Roberts with navigator Barry Houston. Been hugely successful for the United States Retro Association in America, but can they be as successful as the World Series jet sprinting and sharing the same boat? A lot of wear and tear on that big motor that they've done. They say that they can do it. Right now they got to run a little bit faster, and the Red Smiths will have to put themselves on the bubble.
Has he got any more? We look at the split as it comes up, and it's a long split here. It gives him it's right on the half minute, and that's where he's got to be. But has he got enough weight? 29.02, up nearly a second on Red Smith. He's running 52s. Others have been running in the 50s. So Bert Roberts.
Almost a full second faster than Red Smith on the split time. They're going to like that one. But he's also been known to reserve just a little bit, not to show all of his cards, if you will. So for Bert Roberts and the Stars and Stripes, the American boat, letting up just a little bit, kind of customary for him to do that. 52.18, they're going to be happy with that. And on we go, Eric Haksima. Here is a guy that a lot of people initially were putting the spotlight on, says, you know, this may be the man to beat. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to pull it out of the Kiwi Express, we'll tell here in just a few minutes. With the competition that we have got on this ultra fast track here at Gisborne, this thing just reaches his arms out and wraps himself around these superboats. Superboats love this track, and so does Eric Haksima, Kiwi Express.
Well, just stretching the legs, Jack, and look at that 30.09 at the split, a little bit behind the pace, so the Flying Dutchman has to crank it up. Andy Dahl, a very animated navigator, pointing the way, the 440 Rodic, pushing them along, taking it to the match. They build up, the big bobble there. That takes away half a second. That could cost him as he runs and guns for home because he's only been in the 52s. It's a high 52 of 52.97.
Is that a game face or what? Chris Barnes and the Exterminator and the Backcraft. Early on, another one of those. A lot of people are saying, watch out for Barnesy. He is ultra hungry on this track that was built by Superboat driver Peter Bryant. A lot of people said that may give Peter Bryant a home track advantage. Well, not necessarily. It's not like Peter races on this track every weekend. He's had his fair share of passes on this track, and that is Chris Barnes and the Exterminator. Great finesse in driving, real smooth going into the corners. Closer to the island he gets, the hundreds of a seconds he's going to take off his time.
Well, it's going to be the key one where it comes up at the split, and we're at it now, 29.02. Pulls back nearly a second, so running and gunning, turning and burning with the 500 cubic inch Kendrick Dart pumping about 940 horsepower. So this is the rally driver turned supermotor, twice winning the New Zealand Superboat title, and he's in very, very good form here on the slick waters as we count down 51.80. Great run.
It is now time for the father half of Stars and Stripes, the American boat, representing the United States Sprint Boat Association. This is Mark Roberts, the dad, looking to do better than the Red Smith 54.42. Red Smith is now on the bubble, taking an opportunity to be bumped out and put onto the trailer for Mark Roberts, an old veteran at this. This is his 4th time for running World Series jet sprinting.
But when you look at him, he's struggling a little on this Gisborne ridden track today. A little bit of lost time in there because he's a second down on son Bert Roberts, but he's been only in the 53 seconders. Them others are running 50s. So maybe it isn't Mark Roberts' day here at the Thunder Park.
As it looks right now, Red Smith is going to be on the trailer early, which is probably going to be no surprise to him because he has been bumped on the trailer in the past by Mark Roberts. But look where son Bert Roberts is sitting with a 52.16. It could be possible that this bump could end up into the final four. We'll see. 53-53. Red Smith is on the trailer. Now for another one of those great on-board shots. Here comes Peter Coe and Ian Stevens. The Parker NZ sponsored full-on sponsorship World Series jet sprinting Gisborne Thunder Track. This track was built specifically for the power of the superboats. Some of these boats running as much as 1,100 horsepower injected on methanol. Taking Ian Stevens watching away his left hand and telling his driver which way to go. We got to come back. We got to go down the channel. Which way are we going to go now? Take a look at the split time. I think we're on a great passer for Peter Coe.
The rev counter told a story as well. Look at that. He's up by over 1.5 seconds, 28.20. And Ian Stevens went very hard on Navigator roll. The revs climb as he powers around the track. And this could be interesting in the points chart. Mark Roberts in a little bit of trouble today. Coe could be the big mover. Heading for home. Hooks it round the left-hander. Brings it right round under the Firestone banner with a 50.82.
Do you think anybody's foxing? Peter Bryan foxing?
When they say they haven't got anything left, it's just a matter of probably holding a little bit longer into each of those turns. And at the end of the day, it becomes 50-50 whether you want to do that or not. And how much do you want to win? So we've got a little bit.
In the words of Rodney Poyo, how bad do you want to win this? Do you push it a little extra harder into the corner or not? Do you want to try to pick up that 100th of a second, or do you want to take a chance of beaching it? We'll find out. He's been away from the sport now for about 2 years. It is so good to have Rodney Poyo back. He's already ran himself a fast. You can tell by the scoreboard. They're a 50.65. And with the pass that he's got going right here, it's going to be an opportunity for him to basically throw down the gauntlet and say, boys, I am back. Let's take it to the final four. Here comes the split time for Rodney Poyo. How fast it's going to be? Oh, look at that.
28.28, he is on the case big time here. 1.8 seconds on the right side of the ledger. 8/100ths behind Peter Coe. So the old firm, Rodney and Joanna Poyo, they bring round the only big block left in the field against the myriad of small blocks. And this man could deliver again. And he has 51.11.
You're well into the 50s. Are we going to see 49s, 48s today?
Possibly, won't get down to 49, but maybe a 49, a high 49, but it would be a perfect run, and it's achievable. But I don't know whether I can do it.
There's a rumour going round you've got problems with the boat.
Never listen to rumours.
The top of the table.
Never believe the rumors. We'll see about that. World Series jet sprinting Gisborne Thunder Track is put together by this man. This is the guy that invented the track, put it together, designed it. Peter Bryan with Navigator Robin Fox, the 1-2 punch that has been together for quite some time. Is there a home track advantage? Oh, wait a minute. We may have a hand-grenaded motor. Didn't sound too awful good. Coming out of this corner, you can see where he loses power. What a tough break for Peter Bryant.
Blown the motor?
Blown the engine, yeah.
You felt it go?
Yeah, we got a little hop and picked up a bit of an over rev, and the engine went flat. And I don't know what it's done, but I mean, that's why, you can never be confident. I mean, things happen, it's motorsport, and it's the way it goes. I mean, it's disappointing, but.
Wow, about a $60,000 hand grenading of the motor. Peter Coe, Rodney Poyo, Chris Barnes, and Bert Roberts make it into the final four. More coming up here next from Gisborne with World Series jet sprinting. We now come down to the final four of Superboat Racing here at the Gisborne Thunder Track. And with the final four, we have one American remaining. This is the son portion of the father-son combination. It is Bert Roberts with Navigator Perry Houston of the Stars and Strike boat. United States Sprint Boat Association champion Superboat from last year. And they are looking to dominate if they can for World Series Jet Sprinting. Coming out of the American Lake, they were on top. Less than spectacular showing here in New Zealand, kind of down on horsepower a little bit, but still has a driving finesse. Burt Roberts with stars and stripes.
Well, he's having to push really hard in this one. He's 29.13 at the split. So is it about the indicator? Oh, we've got an error. The navigator indicator right. He's gone straight on, and this is going to cost him big time in the points because he was there. Mark Roberts is leading the points table. The possibility of becoming second. It's going to drop him back in the standings. He's going to be guaranteed fourth place, but it's in the overall points. That decision could be very critical. They will be disappointed as they come back to the trailer. We look at the course rotation map, you can see where it went wrong. They should have gone right, they went straight on. It happens in a fraction of a second.
Navigational problem for Burt Roberts. He is out. Now this sets up an unusual situation with the final four. Usually the first boat comes out, lays down the time, and that's the time that the other three boats have to chase. But because we had a wrong way direction for Burt Roberts, this is going to be the first time for the final four, and it's going to be the exterminator, Chris Barnes. What he lays down is what Rodney Polio and Peter Coe have got to chase.
Well, the Barnstormy's on another big one, and he's got the boat. He's got the ability. He's been running in the 51s, and that's important. Come been in the 50s. That's what this man can do. 28.77 at the split. He's up by 0.36 of a second. So he's heading in the right direction, heading for home.
Great pass for the exterminator with Chris Barnes. He knows he has one shot only because Burt Roberts is out. He went the wrong way with a navigational problem. Chasing the finish line, the circle track. Here we go to the finish. Oh, it's going to be a low 51. How about a 51.33 for Chris Barnes? The established time of a 51.33. Rodney Polio with a 2-year layoff is back to prove the 2 years was a good thing. Refresh, the batteries are charged. 51.33 is the chase time now. That's the trailer time for Chris Barnes. The bubble time, if you will. Sneaking up on split time. Is that a great shot or what? The onboard camera shot for World Series Jet Sprinting. Take a look at split time for Rodney Polio. Faster or not than Chris Barnes. This will be the telltale coming up. To the lights we go. It trips it at 28.26. A half a second faster than Chris Barnes.
Well, the husband and wife team on the right side of the ledger in this one. So Rodney Polio with the Keith Black big block. All the small blocks want to beat this man, but that is no easy task as he brings the Mark Cromie Holden Stinger around. Just keeps it right in the middle, generating great boat speed. Here's over at 50.55. Polio is still in the ballpark.
Rodney Polio 50.55. Now the rumbling in the pits is, will this track hold a 49-second pass? If we have an opportunity to see one for the first time today, this could be the pass right here with Peter Cohen. Chris Barnes is sitting at a 51.33. That is the official bubble mark now, the trailer time. Peter Cohen, Ian Stevens doing the navigator, doing the left hand. Driver, this way. Peter, get ready, turn this way. And a great onboard camera shot. Only found here at World Series Jet Sprinting, ground zero on the aqua track.
And the NZ Macra beautifully set up for this course. This is the super package of the day. But he's got to go 3 to go through. And the countdown is on. One little error is all it will take. And he'll be out to the final. But he's pushing it to the max, brings it round. Coe is on the bubble. We look at the time. 51.11 is in the final.
Peter Coe off a little bit in time by a 51.11, but is that by design? Is that to give Rodney Polio a little comfort, thinking maybe Peter Coe's having some problems, or is this a little cat and mouse game between Peter and Rodney? I guess we will find out, because now we get down to the finals, and first out with the 51.11 time is going to be Peter Coe. With all the qualifying that has happened, with all the rounds of elimination, we now come down to 2 boats remaining for World Series Jet Sprinting in the Super Boats here on the pleasure track at Gisborne, New Zealand, North Island, and the onboard camera shot of Peter Coe and Eden Stevens. There's a pretty example of what the navigator does, telling the driver which way to go. The driver concentrates on driving, the navigator concentrates on telling the driver, turn here, turn there, we're going back the other way. Almost 1,000 horsepower injected on methanol. Super boats for World Series Jet Sprinting and Peter Coe.
This is the big 475 Chevrolet. rev counter telling the story on the power, off the power, and it's delivering lots of it at the moment. As Pukekohe, he has to set the time for Rodney Poyor to chase, and it could be a big chase. Poyor has gone back in front. He will run last. Coe runs the line, 50.27.
Rodney, precious time.
Yeah, we're where we want to be, so things are looking good.
That last run wasn't as quick as you've done. Is there more there?
Oh, there's definitely more there. We're just going to do a good tidy run, and I think we can do it.
It now comes down to this, the last and final boat to run on the track for the day. It is Rodney Poyor. Keep in mind, once again, he's been away from the sport for almost 2 years. 50.27 is the time, staring him right square in the face. And he knows that if he beats Pukekohe, he has done something miraculous. So for Rodney Poyor to be gone for 2 years and to be in this position, he's got to be happy about his performance already. Can it happen?
Well, time will tell. The spin will be the first indicator as it comes up. But if anyone can, this man can. And 27.28.08. He is 2.28 down. He will never catch that up. He's got to work hard. He's got the boat. Has he got the speed?
Making the sprint to the finish line, 50.26 or faster in order to win this. Pukekohe is holding his breath, sitting in the spin-out pool right now. Can he or can he not pick up on the win? He will go 50.63. Win goes to Pukekohe. Oh, they're going to be happy about that. But for Rodney Poyor, nothing to be disgraced about at all. A 2-year absent from the sport and comes back to get a second place with a 50.63 right behind Pukekohe, and the Parker ends it at a 50.24.
Pretty close.
It was hard racing. We clearly it was our best run so far today, and team just kept working away, and we kept changing things and looking for a little bit of an edge here and there, and we're certainly stretched for power. I mean, no secret there, but yeah, if you can put a nice smooth run together and get that boat control right, well, seems to count for a bit. All that testing's probably paying off a little bit today. So yeah, great result for Parker NZ. We're really pleased to get those points back on track a little bit.
And wrapping up the top 5, Chris Barnes, Pukekohe, Jeremy O'Driscoll, and the father-son combination with son Bert Robertson, number 2, and in first place, father Mark Roberts. On behalf of everybody for World Series Jet Sprinting, Russell Harris, and Susan, our statistician girl in the car that we couldn't do it without her, Big Jack Armstrong. See you at the track soon.
Well, we just can't seem to stay away from the Pukekohe racetrack. The year 2008, and the BMW E30 boys, they've come to race.
In the 2 or 3 years since I've been around, the Radio Sport BMW E30 series has gone from strength to strength, now fielding close to 40 cars on the line on any given race weekend. Just what is the popularity of this class?
The E30 class has obviously proved to be very popular because of the relatively frugal costs that are involved. But it's very, very close, even between the 318s and the 320s. And the guys come out and they have a good time. Most of them stay at the track, and it's a very collegial sort of atmosphere. We've got all sorts, really. We've got guys that are doing it very much on a shoestring, and guys that have got a lot more cash to throw about, but are just doing it because of the competition. As I said, there's a lot of camaraderie among the guys, and yeah, it's a real cross section.
Well, this is the second race of the weekend for the E30 series, and it is Todd Pelham in the number 96 car. Was the fastest of the qualifiers in yesterday's qualifying session. He went round here in a 1:15.74. Now, compare the times to the slowest guys, and there's a 15-second difference. Well, out on the front at the moment, it is number 33, and that is Ryan Coppins. Just got a glimpse there of the number 2 car, and that is Paul Nugent. It's one of 2 team cars. Watch 2 for Todd Pelham. He was the top qualifier, as I said, and I think he started on the front row. That's him just sitting in second place at the moment, and in behind him, wearing plate number 1, that is Mel Clark. Very experienced Mel Clark, Bygone Auto-sponsored orange Beamer. Remember, 2 different engine sizes out here, the 318s and the 320s. And the room Rumours are that the 320s have got the slight horsepower edge, as we've got a new race leader as they come up over the Ford Mountain again. It's Todd Pelham in the Ford driving experience, number 96, the 320i. Mel Clark moves up into second place. Big mover coming through there is Michael Mosen from Hamilton. Car number 75, just in behind him, it's Coppins. And Nugent looking for racing room on the inside. Can't find it for the moment, but he's got a good track position as they head down into the Jenny and Home sweeper. Well, he's done a lot of laps around here, is Todd Pelham. Most of them are in high-performance Ford vehicles. This, though, it is BMW E30. And he's got a pretty healthy lead at the moment from Mel Clark sitting in second place. Looks like Mosen's moved up into third. Then we go back to Coppins. Then it'd be Nugent by the look of it. In there too would be Craig Schuster, car number 50. We saw him earlier on. Oh, number 2 just squeezed out there by Coppins for racing room. He has to take to the grass as they come out of the hairpin. And that shuffled the spots a bit. There is Schuster, number 50, as we mentioned, back in about 7th or 8th. Race leader, though, continues to be Todd Pelham. Mel Clark hasn't got an answer. At one stage, you know, when they first started racing these things, a 1:19 was a good lap. Well, now in qualifying trim, they're in the 1:15s. This man, the fastest qualifier for the weekend. This is Todd Pelham. Second place, Mel Clark. In third place, it looks like it's number 75 now, Michael Mosen. Number 11 in there as well, it's Ken Henderson. There's another one that qualified well and racing well here. Right in behind him, Ryan Coppins. Then we go back to Nugent. And behind Nugent, I think we'd have Nigel Patterson, number 83. We'll have a look as they get a bit closer, though. So as we said, 38 cars faced the starter for this race too. We lost a couple with DNFs in race number 1, and some of them couldn't be repaired. A lot of them, though, could be. Pelham leads at Clark in second place. Mosen, well, is he still in third place? I think he is. Then we go back to Nugent. Then it'd be 11, Ken Henderson in there as well. So this really is a great form of motor racing to get involved in. And as you heard Zach Lawrence say, it's pretty affordable. Although since we've been racing these BMWs, they've been a little bit scarce, but you can still pick one up on trade meet. Across the stripe they go once again. 96, Pelham making a bit of a boring race of it because he's extended his lead now on the Bygone Autos car of Mel Clark. Good scrap going on for third and fourth, though. Nugent starting to put the pressure on Michael Mosen, the Mosen Auto Parts BMW. There is number 75. There is Nugent. There is Ryan Coppins. And there, in fact, it's the other way round. It's Henderson that's moved up. So Nugent goes back behind Coppins. So a bit of a change there in the team cars. All brilliantly prepared. Number 28 there, Scott Sampson with a 320. Remember, as we said, 2 engine sizes, the 318 and the 320. The 320 a little bit heavier, but more power. The 318, well, the word is that they're a little bit more nimble. They're going to have to be nimble here because Michael Mosen is just squeezed there by Ken Henderson, and there's a bit of a coming together behind him between Nugent and Ryan Coppins. Everyone looking for racing room and nobody finding it as they work their way through the left-hander and up over the Ford Mountain again. This man's staying well out of trouble. This is Todd Pelham. So he's got a big gap now on Mel Clark, and the gaps are starting to open up. Henderson through in third place. Then it looks like it would be Michael Mosen by the look of it. Greg Simons is in there as well, car number 69, and that little fighting bunch going on just behind this man. He's tiptoeing his way over the curbs through the Jenny and Holmes sweeper and in and out of the S as he comes. There is number 2, and that is Andrew Nugent. And he's got a bit of a problem, maybe just a little bit slow on the entrance to the back straight, and maybe he's going to be swallowed up. Oh, there's real problems here for the veteran. This is Bruce Miller. He's done a bit of grass garner work in his past, so he won't be too worried about this, I wouldn't think. He's going to miss out the Castrol turn and just join in on the back straight. So Bruce Miller rejoins, no harm, no foul, as he heads up a big lock up there from number 47. That's Nicholas Gladiatus in the 320i. He regains the train, if you like, this big mechanical snake that works its way up and over the top of Ford Mountain. Once again, this is the battle further up the field. Number 14 is in it, and that is Paul Olsen. As we go back to the very front, and it's still Pelham in the lead, Clark in second place, still Ken Henderson in third. Mosen's got all he can handle now from Greg Simons, and you get a feeling that maybe the positions are going to change here a little bit because Mosen just looked a little bit untidy coming out of Jenny and Holmes. And normally it is a delayed effect. If you get Gideon Holmes wrong, you normally get the S's wrong as well, but he holds on to it. The Mosen Auto Parts BMW E30 holds on from Greg Simons for the moment. Well, Todd Pelham has just run away and hid from these guys. He was the fastest qualifier, as we said, did a 1:15.74. Mel Clark's best time was a 1:16.71. In fact, Todd was the only one in the 1:15s, and that's transferred into what we see on the racetrack. Well, we thought that Simons would get past Mosen, and that's exactly what's happened. This battle for the minors, it's 5th and 4th place now. Pelham comes round the left-hander, out of the hairpin and up over the Ford Mountain once again. Ken Henderson sits comfortably in 3rd place now at 69 in 4th. Well, did I say comfortably? Because Henderson starts to work on Mel Clark now. That's the battle for 2nd and 3rd. The orange car, the Bygone Autos BMW of Mel Clark, vastly experienced. Some of these guys having their first real try at serious motor racing. Todd Pelham leads it onto Castrol and out onto the back straight once again. Henderson just getting tailed off a little bit as they head down the back straight, but he'll pick it up under braking for the hairpin. And that's where we are now. And look at this, Henderson starting to round up Mel Clark, looking for a run on the outside. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd. He's never going to go around the outside of Mel Clark. He's got too much experience for that. Clark will square off the turn and protect his line. 11, Henderson will have to be content to follow for a little while longer. Of course, these cars run under a very strict rules and guidelines. They're pretty near stock standard. They run a suspension package from stocks, so they're all pretty much the same there. It all comes down to setup and what little tiny tinkering you can do with them. There's number 318. Now, this is Gordon Legg. Now, he's in a battle at the moment for 25th and 26th spot by the look of it. Just up ahead of him, it would have been Grant Williams in car number 7. He's bouncing off the curbs as the race leader. And look at this battle for 2nd and 3rd. That's where the racing is at the moment. And Henderson just makes a slight mistake as he comes into Castrol, and Mel Clark capitalises and the daylight opens up again. So the elastic gets stretched here between 2nd and 3rd. But watch what happens as they come out of the kink. Look at Henderson now, all over the back of Mel Clark like a cheap suit. Can he get around him? He's not going to do it on the outside. You watch Clark push him to the very outside of the racetrack and just protect his line. Number 1, the Bygone Autos BMW 320i of Mel Clark, one of the original competitors up here in the North Island when the series was muted by Colin Briscoe 2 or so years ago now. 96, Todd Pelham. Fastest car on the racetrack at the moment. Checkered flag comes out and he wins race number 2 for the Radio Sport BMW E30 series. Who's going to get second? Here comes the big challenge from Henderson on the outside, but he doesn't do it. And Mel Clark will go through in 2nd place, chased all the way by Ken Henderson. 4th will be Gregory Simons, and in 5th it'll be Hamilton's Michael Mosen. So this is the 3rd and final race for the Radio Sport E30 series, and it's a handicap event. And first away it is number 320, and that is Mike Watson. Paul Cook away as well, and he is number 37. There is Watson. Nothing but clear track ahead of him, but that may all change. Probably well within the 8 laps. Second group getting away there. 27, Jensen Simpson in it in his 318. There is 318, number 318, and that is Gordon Legg in the Speed Week, Speed Machine BMW. He started from around about 7th or 8th on the grid, and there's a whole heap more to come yet. And of course the last one away should be Todd Pelham and Mel Clark. So already we see a leader change. Number 320 coming under a bit of pressure here. So Mike Watson's going to lose the first spot. Oh, I might have spoken too soon because I think he's going to hold on to it. Paul Cook couldn't mount the challenge as they go around the hairpin. There is number 17 from Whangarei. That's Bruce Miller. He's back in about 5th or 6th spot at the moment. So the race leader continues to be number 320. This is a battle further down through the field. Number 88 there. 86, I beg your pardon. That's Andrew Armstrong. Just up ahead of him it is Paul Cook. So that's the battle for 2nd and 3rd. So this is 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And it looks like Andrew Anderson's moved through into 3rd place now. Then it's number 97, Phil Johnson. And behind him, number 536, Oliver McDermott. In there as well as 318, and that's Gordon Legg. Trying to find the fast boys through here. Todd Pelham being the quickest. would have started at the very back. Number 57, there's Rob Bolland, so he's making his way through. Bruce Miller's got past number 86 by the look of it, so he's moved up a spot as well. So that's good news for Bruce, but bad news for Andrew Armstrong. Race leader still continues to be number 320, Mike Watson. This is the battle for second, third, fourth and fifth. And it's still Paul Cook from Andrew Armstrong. In there as well, number 97, Phil Johnson. Gordon Legg moving up a spot. There he is in the Speed Machine Speed Week BMW. Bruce Miller trying to stay with that little bunch. Again, some of them using the curbs and then a bit of the grass to get around the hairpin. With this enthralling battle for, well, the battle of the minors, I guess you say. And this man continues to lead it, number 320, Mike Watson. And he is out by the proverbial country mile at the moment, working his way through the Jenny and home sweeper, now in and out of the S's. First away, and he stayed away. And Paul Cook's got a little bit of an advantage now, up on second place. Then we go back to Phil Josephs by the look of it. Andrew Armstrong is still right in there. They go through onto the back straight again, I should say. 536 is Oliver McDermott. He's tacked onto the back of that bunch for the moment. Well, this man must think all his Christmases have come at once, because he is in a good position to win his first race, I'm sure of it. Number 320, Mike Watson. Still Cook holding on to second place, but now he's under a bit of pressure from Gordon Legg in the 318, the Speed Week Speed Machine Beamer. So he's got up in front of Armstrong by the look of it. We'll check on that as they come a bit closer. No, it is still number 97, Phil Josephs up there in third place. Gordon Legg goes back into fourth. Now they start to put the pressure on Cook, but there's nothing that he can do about it, because the challenge is coming from the back. He can't repel it. 97 still sits in second place. It's Josephs. Gordon Legg is up there as well. Moving through is Oliver McDermott. This man continues to lead it. Look at that. He looks like he's out for a Sunday drive. The 320, Mike Watson. Look at them queuing up to get around Paul Cook at the moment. You can see the traffic jam starting to form behind him, so you get the feeling that these guys coming up are just a little bit quicker. And as we look back at the huge advantage that Mike Watson has on the rest of this field, now you got the feeling that Paul Cook, I beg his pardon, days in the front are numbered. As Gordon Legg drives and moves down the inside, but he's got the front of the car shut off by Phil Josephs. So Josephs and Legg going at it for second and third now. Just got a glimpse there of Todd Pelham. He's back in about 9th or 10th spot, so he's made his way from the back and he's heading towards the front of the field, but I think he's going to run out of laps. This one only 8 laps. It's the Radio Sport BMWs. There is Bruce Miller. Here is our race leader. Across the stripe he goes once again and into the Jenny and home sweeper. And he's still in the front. And we're just past the half distance. Watson leads it. Now, have we got a change for second and third? Well, we haven't. It is still Phil Josephs and Gordon Legg arguing about the top 2 spots in the podium, or the second and third spot in the podium, I should say. And look at this traffic jam in behind them. Mel Clark looking for racing room there in the bright orange car. Number 11 going through as well. And that's Ken Henderson. Remember, he ran that fine race in race number 2. It's just pipped by Clark. Still serenely going about his business, probably blissfully unaware of what's happening behind him, is number 320, and that is Mike Watson. Now this is on board with Ezra Orr by the look of it, in the 99 car, as they come out of the hairpin, and you can get a graphic example of just how many cars and what sort of traffic jam they've got here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. 57, Rob Bolland is just up there on the right in the red car, as we ride with Ezra Orr up and over the top of Ford Mountain. This, though, the battle for second and third. Gordon Legg sits in third place. Just up ahead of him, it's Phil Joseph, race leader. You're going to get sick of hearing it, but it's still Mike Watson. But they are starting to close him down now. 97, Joseph's in and out of the S's and down the front, the back straight once again. Gordon Legg going with him. This is the pass for the lead, I think. So we've got a new race leader now, and it's Phil Josephs. Coming down the inside is Legg in the 318. Can he make the pass stick? Down, got racing position, got track position. Bruce Miller there to shut the door as well. So Gordon Legg now into the front. Joseph's back in second place. Then Miller moves up into third. Heading towards the Ford Mountain. It is the Speed Week, Speed Machine, BMW with Gordon Legg out in the front. Ross Gardner starting to make his presence felt there. The white car sits in 4th place now. Bruce Miller looking for racing room as well as they head across the stripe, and they've got about 3 laps to go in this one. Now can Gordon Legg get his first race win here as we go back on board with Ezra Orr, back where the traffic's a little bit heavier, and that is at the back end of the field. Into the Genie and Home sweeper he comes. Oh, he's got a little bit wide, and I think he's got it wrong. He has got it wrong, and we've got the best seat in the house, and that is a very fast spin indeed for Ezra Orr, and you're right on his shoulder. Well, the dust's still clearing, and Orr has got back onto the racetrack. Ezra Orr, the 320i, just brushing the dust off the car as he heads down the back straight, but what a spectacular shot that was. Oh, and there's some problems here for Josephs. There's a little bit of close contact. Gordon Legg keeps his nose clean, so too does Bruce Miller. Josephs regains his composure pretty quickly, but there's all sorts of pandemonium going on behind him. So Legg leads it, number 318. Last lap, can he hold on? Will the boss get his first win in the Radio Sport BMW Series? 318, Legg in the front. The car's done Targa. It's done one full season here in the E30 Series. Moving up past him now, Bruce Miller's on the charge. So too is Carl Kirk-Bernard. But can he get by? Bernard moves into 2nd place. Miller goes back into 3rd. Then it's Benjamin Doak. Hamish Archer is there. Ross Gardner, Todd Pelham. Remember, Pelham's come from the back to the front, but I think he's going to run out of racing time here. Here comes the move from the outside this time from Gordon Legg as they head down into the hairpin. Oh, and he might have just let the door open for Bruce Miller, but it is Carl Kirk-Bernard out in the front. Comes from a racing family, and he's timed his run perfectly. As they head towards the Ford Mountain, he's already got a bit of daylight between himself and now Bruce Miller from Whangarei sits in 2nd place. Checkered flag comes out. Carl Kirk-Bernard will win it. Miller will go through in 2nd place. Legg will go through in 3rd by the look of it. And then we go back to Benjamin Doak and Hamish Archer in behind him, and that will be the way the judges see it as well. So Carl Kirk-Bernard gets the win from Whangarei's Bruce Miller, and the boss, Gordon Legg, through in 3rd spot.
That's it for this week. See you next week for more Retro Motorsport.
With the circuit here at Myra. Here's the race leaders. Oh, there are all sorts of problems.
Oh, big carnage. Oh, straight to the barriers and through the smoke we come. What a crash!